On a remote island tucked away in the northern British Columbia coast, there exists a small community of people called Kitkatla. Kitkatla is considered one of the oldest continually occupied human settlements on North America's coast, a place where people have lived for thousands of years, drawing sustenance from the riches of the ocean and land. One of these riches, known as ulican, was not usually eaten as fish meat. The vast majority of this catch was rendered for its edible, sustainable oil, which could be stored for many months. This oil is commonly referred to as grease. They boiled the ulican in large cedar bent boxes until the grease separated and rose to the top. They skimmed the grease and poured it into other boxes to store it for trade with other tribes. The grease from these small fish could be traded for furs, copper, and obsidian, among other things. Trails across the continent were developed. Because these trails were commonly used to transport ulican grease, they are now referred to as grease trails. For thousands of years, First Nations traders followed well-trodden grease trails, backpacking heavy boxes of valuable ulican grease. The trails, operating on a relay system, covered a geographic area from what is now the Yukon Territories south to what is now Northern California, and as far east as central Montana and Alberta. Thousands of years later, in the mid to late 1800s, geological surveys and studies were being done in the Alberta tar sands. These studies concluded that the evidence points to the existence of the most extensive petroleum fields in North America, if not the world. Separating the oil and sand, however, proved to be an expensive, labor-intensive process. It was 1967 before the first commercially viable operation began with the opening of the Great Canadian Oil Sands. Despite the large reserves, the cost of extracting the oil from the sands has historically made production of the oil sands unprofitable. In 2003, the development of the oil sands increased dramatically when oil prices skyrocketed. In many people's opinions, this has been a great development and improvement in our nation. It certainly has made an economic difference. 9 in 10 new jobs in the past year have been created in Alberta alone. This positive economic outlook has been spearheaded by Canada's Conservative government over the past decades and has created many serious environmental concerns. If we travel back to that small island of Canada's earliest traders, you will see they face a trade project that threatens the very existence of the Kitkatla people and many other First Nations in the area. The Enbridge Northern Gateway Pipeline project is a proposal to construct a pipeline nearly 1,200 kilometers in length running from Alberta to Kitimat. Massive oil tankers would then transport this crude oil across the ocean to Asian markets. It's estimated that the proposed project could produce more than $600 million in economic benefits during the lifetime of the project. However, were a spill to occur, there would be $9.6 billion in cleanup costs and more than $300 million in costs to the region's commercial fisheries, port, and tourism industries. Enbridge and 10 other energy companies have invested more than $450 million to develop the Gateway proposal. Up to 10% of the equity has been set aside for Aboriginal partners. The people of Kitkatla don't wish to accept any type of equity offer and stand strong in their opposition to this development. Stephen Harper is quoted while promising that his government is committed to adhering to its First Nations consultation requirements, that the project offers an unprecedented opportunity for Aboriginal people to join the mainstream of the Canadian economy. Perhaps the Canadian government has an unprecedented opportunity to learn from the thousands of years of sustainable and renewable trade that took place within these nations. Perhaps Canadian investments would pay off for future generations if we could think ahead far enough. I don't know what the future will hold for Kitkatla and the development of this pipeline. I merely suggest that we think seriously about the opinions of the earliest recorded traders in North America and think twice about forcing a development that threatens their very existence. An elder once told me that when they think about decisions for Kitkatla, they try to think of how it will affect the next 7 to 10 generations. Is our government thinking that far ahead?